You're 6 years old, sitting cross-legged in front of the TV with your bowl of cereal, and suddenly your hero is dying. Not captured, not injured, dying. Optimus Prime, the giant red and blue robot who always saved the day, is turning gray. His eyes are dimming, and he's telling his friends goodbye. If you were there in 1986, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Kids ran out of theaters crying. Parents demanded refunds. One psychiatrist reported that children were showing signs of genuine grief counseling over a cartoon robot. 38 years later, grown adults still get emotional talking about this scene. So here's the question. Why does a fictional character's death from our childhood hit harder than most real losses we experience as adults? To understand this, you need to know what Transformers meant in the mid-80s. This wasn't just a cartoon. This was the show. Every kid had the toys, the lunchbox, the bed sheets. Optimus Prime wasn't some character you watched on Saturday mornings. He was a presence in your life. And here's what made him different from every other cartoon hero. Optimus Prime felt real to us in a way that He-Man or G.I. Joe never quite did. Maybe it was Peter Cullen's voice, warm and fatherly. Maybe it was that Optimus actually struggled, actually made mistakes, actually seemed to carry the weight of leadership. When you're 6 or 7 years old, your brain hasn't fully developed the capacity to separate fiction from reality. That sounds obvious, but the implications run deeper than you think. To a child's mind, Optimus Prime existed, not in the way your parents existed, but in the way that Santa Claus existed, in the way that your imaginary friend existed. In a space that was realer than pretend, but not quite the same as the tangible world. Psychologists call this fictional absorption. It's the developmental stage where stories aren't just entertainment. They're how children practice being human, how they learn about heroism and loss and sacrifice before they have to face those things in real life. So when Hasbro and Marvel decided to kill off Optimus Prime in the animated movie, they weren't just writing out a character, they were staging the first major death many children had ever experienced, and they did it brutally. Visual, the scene where Optimus gets shot, collapses, and slowly fades to gray. No quick defeat, no peaceful sleep. We watched him deteriorate for several minutes of screen time. We watched him struggle to speak. We watched his color drain away, which in animation language meant we watched the life literally leave his body. Your brain at 6 years old doesn't have the coping mechanisms for this. You haven't learned yet that heroes come back, that death in fiction is temporary, that the actor is fine and working on another project. All you know is that the one constant, the one utterly reliable protector in your fictional world just died in front of you. Here's the part that hits different when you understand it. Childhood grief imprints differently than adult grief. Neuroscientist Dr. Ruth Lanius has shown that traumatic or significant emotional memories formed before age 8 get encoded in a more visceral, sensory way. They live in your amygdala, not your prefrontal cortex. That means when you remember Optimus dying, you're not remembering it the way you remember, say, a sad movie you watched last year. You're experiencing a ghost of the actual feeling, the tightness in your chest, the confusion, the betrayal. Because it was betrayal, wasn't it? Saturday morning cartoons had an unspoken contract. Heroes don't die. They taught us that good guys win. That if you're brave and noble, you'll be okay. And then Transformers. The movie walked into theaters and broke that contract in the first 20 minutes. But here's the darker truth that makes this hit even harder as an adult. You're not just mourning Optimus Prime. You're mourning the kid who believed that heroes don't die. You're mourning the moment your childhood became a little less safe, a little less certain. Psychologist Clay Routledge studies nostalgia, and he's found that we don't actually miss the past as much as we miss the version of ourselves who lived in that past. The kid watching Transformers didn't know about layoffs or mortgages or global warming. That kid thought that being brave and doing the right thing was enough. That kid thought the good guys always win. Optimus Prime's death was the first crack in that worldview for millions of kids. And when we revisit that scene now, we're touching that crack again. We're feeling the moment we started learning that the universe doesn't protect heroes just because they deserve it. So what do we do with this? What does it mean that a 38-year-old cartoon death still makes grown adults cry? I think it means we're grieving correctly. Stay with me here. One of the biggest mistakes we make with nostalgia is treating it like a weakness, like we're being childish or living in the past. But researchers like Konstantin Sidikidis have shown that nostalgia is actually adaptive. It's how we maintain continuity with our past selves. It's how we remember that we've survived hard things before, even if those hard things were just cartoon deaths. That 6-year-old who cried when Optimus Prime died learned something crucial, that loss is survivable. That even when your hero falls, the story continues. Hot Rod became Optimus Prime. The Autobots kept fighting. Life went on, even though nothing was quite the same. You learned resilience from a cartoon robot, and you didn't even know it. But here's what's important. You can honor that grief without living in it. You can acknowledge that Optimus Prime's death marked something real in your development, a genuine loss of innocence, without pretending that 1986 was better than now. The past doesn't need to be perfect to be meaningful. When you feel that tightness in your chest watching that scene again, you're not being weak. You're feeling the connection between who you were and who you are. You're honoring the kid who loved so completely, so openly, that a fictional death could shake their world. That capacity to care that much? That's not something to outgrow. That's something to protect. Optimus Prime's death still hits hard because it was supposed to hit hard. Because some losses echo. Because the stories that shape us as children don't stop shaping us just because we grow up. And maybe because in a world that often feels cold and complicated, there's something reassuring about knowing you once cared so deeply about something that its loss still registers decades later. That's not nostalgia. That's proof that you're still capable of that kind of love. Till all are one.